Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. And today's video, even though we're in 2022 at the time of recording this, I wanted to talk about the outdated but still very viable Korg D888 audio workstation. I'm making this video because if there's anyone out there that is still using this console, please feel free to leave a comment. I'd love to hear your story on if you're still using it or if you still have it in some capacity. Just be very curious. A little bit about the machine. Once upon a time back in 2005, 2008, this was the gold standard of audio recording at home. Everything was built into a single unit. So you had a hard drive inside here. I think it's a 40 gig hard drive. Some of them came with 80 gigs, and you had the ability to record 8 channels at once. You had all your EQs and your channel strips, and then you had a built-in recording capabilities with built-in effects. It also doubled as a digital mixer. You can do your 2 monitors out, your 2 masters out. All you can see that on a very, very tiny screen here, and that was the major detractor for this machine because you really needed to have a magnifying glass to see what was going on with the machine. However, it was still very capable back when it was out on the market. Now, if you would like to see a more detailed video on how to go through the different screens, how to use the various functions, please leave a comment. I will save that for a separate video. I really wanted to go over some of the things I like about this and some of the things that are a bit of a pain to work through on a machine like this. So the way I'm using this machine is just strictly capture only. I'll capture whatever I'm recording here, and then I will connect it via USB, bring it over to my laptop here, bring the files over, and then I'll use a program like Audacity, or I think I have a free version of Cubase somewhere that I still have. It's an outdated version, but it works fine for my needs. And essentially this is my capture surface that I can use, and it works perfectly for my needs there. So here it's booted up. These look like they're flickering, but they are not to the naked eye. It's just the frame rate. And I'd say the most limiting factor of this particular console is the screen. This screen is very small. I'd say it's only like maybe 2.5, 3 inches across, and they did not give it the ability to connect to an external screen. The D3200s, an aftermarket version was available, and you can actually connect a VGA type screen to it, so it made it a little bit easier to see. But that really is kind of the major limitation of this console, is the screen. You really have a hard time seeing it if you don't have good vision. The other limitation was that the preamps, while they were okay, they tended to be more on the darker side. It didn't really have a lot of transparency. Nothing that couldn't be fixed with a little bit of EQing, but that is a limitation that you need to be aware of this particular mixer. The other limitation is that the output bus here, so you have your 2 monitors left and right, and then your masters left and right, or you can press this button. Now that each one of channels 1 through 8 you can monitor through like a headphone amp or another interface, for example. The problem is that these are all unbalanced, meaning that if you were to start interconnecting equipment, you would likely run into some ground loop issues, and that would be a little bit more difficult to get rid of. You would likely need a passive direct box for each one of these outputs in order to break any ground loops and isolate any type of ground loop or noise that may be coming from the mixing console and the equipment that's attached. Not really the best way to interface equipment, but again, this was an entry-level recording mixer at the time, but with outboard equipment, that could be solved. A lot of these things that I'm mentioning can be solved, but again, for the price that this was sold at the time, it was actually still very good for the capabilities that it has. The last topic I wanted to talk about is repairability. Korg actually still sells the entire surface circuit board with all the potentiometers, slide potentiometers, tactile buttons. It's very costly. I think it was about $350 just for that board, and then you'd have to go and install it. Used, these only go for like $200 now, in and thereabouts, so it's not really that expensive, but you know, for the cost that you pay, it's still a good price for the features that you get. I'll bet it's not really the best, but it'll get you at least started. I will say that I have worked on this board and then the D3200 at the component level. Some of the components are only available from Korg because of their special resistor values, for example, for these potentiometers. And for the most part, they just need to be cleaned. They are open back, and if the eventually dust gets in there and they start to get scratchy, Deoxit 5 is your best friend. Like on the slide potentiometers, I just use my air compressor to blast them out clean. Then I use the Deoxit to not only lubricate it, but also to keep the corrosion from building up. And these work great, even after all these years. And the tactile buttons also can be repaired too. They actually have a kit where you can actually resolder each one to the board there. Again, it does take a little bit of special tooling and some skill to do that, but it can be fixed. I have not had any of those issues. I've taken good care of it. It's nice and clean, and for the most part, it's just been a very good, solid working mini interface that has served me well. I'm going to end the video here. If there's anything specific or questions or a video that you'd like to see in more depth on how to work this, I know there's some videos on YouTube that are well over 10 years old that show the functionality of it. I just wanted to make a video about it because it's something that you just don't see anymore, and it still works great for my needs. I really enjoy it. And thanks again for watching. As always, guys, I really appreciate the support on the channel. We'll catch you on the next video.